Hello, and ce mai faceți, prieteni? I'm Peter, and here I'm telling you stories about the most interesting European cars of the 80s and 90s. Today we are talking about a really capable and interesting Romanian off-roader, which you probably never heard of before, the ARO 24 series. By the way, if you are not subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. That really helps enhance the visibility of the channel on YouTube. The ARO 24 was produced from 1969 to 2006 in Romania. A limited production in the Czech Republic was continued until 2013. It was also produced in Spain as Hisparo from Hispanic ARO, Portugal as Port ARO, the Czech Republic as Automax ARO, and Brazil as Crosslander. The total production number is unknown, but it is estimated at way over 200,000 units, not bad at all. The name ARO is the abbreviation for Auto Romania. The main ARO factory was located in Câmpulungu, Romania. The story of the plant started in 1885 as a paper factory Letea Bacău. During World War II, it was repurposed for the production of airplane propellers. After the war, it was half abandoned, but a group of workers tried to start the production of motorcycles, with only 12 units produced, and later automotive parts. In 1957, production of the first car started. It was called IMS-57, and it was a copy of the Soviet military light off-road car GAZ-69, with Romanian-made engines. In 1959, it was upgraded to M59, and in 1964 to a more civilian-looking M461. The 461 was a rather popular car and was even exported to China and Colombia. But it was already a very outdated platform and it needed replacement. So in 1969 a new car, ARO 24 or 240, was developed and introduced to the public. The design of a new car was very different and modern compared to the 461, but it still was a heavy-duty off-roader and it looked very utilitarian. The technical part was rather advanced, with updated engines and the independent front suspension that led to improved handling and off-road capabilities. The mass production of the 24 series started in 1972, and the car stayed in the production in the same appearance and on the same technical platform until 2006, with just small updates. The ARO 24 was exported to many countries of Europe, including the United Kingdom, South America, Mexico, and Canada. It was also assembled in several countries under several names, as I already mentioned, and it became a rather popular car in Brazil and Colombia, for instance. As a matter of fact, over 90% of all produced cars were exported and brought a lot of foreign currency to Romania. Cars were a very important export product for all socialist countries in the 70s and 80s. Surprisingly, it was never exported to the Soviet Union, at least officially. The USSR didn't want to spend money on it, and it had its own off-roaders, the UAZ-469, which was a different branch of further development of GAZ-69, the Lada Niva, which I have another video about, and the Luaz, which I also have a very interesting video about. But after the collapse of the Soviet Union, a small Russian company, Derways, produced its car Derways Cowboy from 2003 to 2006, which was built on the platform of the ARO 24 with a different body. It was a very well-looking car, ugly even for contemporary reviewers, but it was good for off-roading and hunting and fishing trips. So the history of the ARO 24 that started from a Russian GAZ-69 ended up in Russia again at the end of its production. Now, when we know the history of the ARO 24 series, let's look at the car itself. The visual appearance of the ARO 24 was probably exactly like you would imagine the look of an off-road car in the 70s. Large flat body panels and windows, body reinforcement lines along the whole side, tall roof, and high ground clearance. It looked a little like old Land Rovers, but the ARO 24 had its own charm. The ARO 24 had a classic arrangement with a body on a frame, with a solid rear suspension on spring leaves and independent front spring suspension. That allowed for easy installation of different bodies on the same platform, and the ARO 24 had surprisingly many body options. They included passenger off-road vehicles with 2, 3, 4 and 5 doors, with a hard or soft tops, and different seating arrangement from 2 to 8 seats. There were also a line of light commercial trucks and pickup trucks with various long and short cabins and truck beds. Other body options included ambulances, buses, and even school buses. There were also, of course, several military and police versions of this car, including armored ones. A special military version called the ARO Dragon featured a simplified flat-paneled body, convenient for installing optional armored panels. Romanian dictator Nicolae Ceausescu ordered two special long versions of the ARO 24 in light blue color and used them in his official trips. That raised interest to ARO among Romanian government officials, and that car got a reputation of a kind of prestigious luxury car in Romania for some time. During its long production life, the ARO 24 had several updates, mostly visual. In 1977, rectangular headlights were replaced by round ones. In 1985, the front grille and headlights were updated again. In 1995, it received double headlights and different taillights. The last small exterior update was in 1998. Inside, the car was a little Spartan, but comfortable enough for its purpose. At least more comfortable than the previous military-derived M469. Of course, you couldn't expect any luxury from the factory in communist times. So, the car inside had hard plastic of the dashboard, simple instruments, simple rubber cupboards on the floor, simple but comfortable enough seats, and a truck-like design of the interior, with minimalistic buttons and levers. But it was in line with the expectations and the idea of the car. You could easily clean the interior after driving through dust and dirt. And it was comfortable enough for long off-road trips and spacious, so you could load a lot of things inside and even sleep there comfortably if needed. There were 2x4 and 4x4 versions. The main drive was on the rear axle, and in 4x4 versions the driver could engage the front-wheel drive when needed with a separate lever next to the gearbox level. The driving required dedication and some physical force. The ARO 24 had heavy steering without power assistance and heavy pedals. The brakes were stiff too, with drum brakes in the rear. Driving that car felt more like driving a cargo truck than a passenger car. But as a result, the car was reliable enough, durable and capable, making it a great car for those who looked for those qualities of a comfortable road gliding. For an Eastern Bloc produced car, the ARO 24 had a surprisingly wide range of gasoline and diesel engines, available for different markets and different times. There were at least 8 gasoline engines produced not only by ARO itself, but also by Ford, Chrysler, Toyota and Cosworth. Romania had more flexibility in foreign capitalist markets than the Soviet Union, and could get engines from many different countries, which was reasonable considering that 90% of cars were sold to foreign markets. There were inline 4-cylinder engines from 2.4 to 3 liters, and from 67 to 140 horsepower, and V6 engines from 2.9 to 4 liters, producing from 145 to 207 horsepower. The top speed of the cars with gasoline engines was from 109 to 180 kilometers or 68 to 113 miles per hour, with unofficial 0 to 60 miles per hour times from 12 to 27 seconds, depending on the engine and the body version. The range of diesel engines included over 9 naturally aspirated and turbocharged 4-cylinder options, from 2.4 to 3.1 liters, with a power output from 69 to 101 horsepower, the top speed from 110 to 135 kilometers or 61 to 84 miles per hour, and the estimated 0 to 60 miles per hour in over 20 seconds. As we can see, it was never a very fast car, but it had decent torque and power output at lower revs, which was the most important in the off-road conditions. Also, the platform itself allowed for easy engine swapping, and there was a lot of space under the hood. So many owners of AROs in the 2000s and later swapped the engines to the V8s or more powerful V6 engines from Toyota, Nissan and other manufacturers. From the start, all engines were combined with a 4-speed manual transmission. An optional 5-speed manual gearbox was offered starting from 1985. The automatic gearbox was never a factory option. In terms of driving experience, the ARO 24 was good on paved roads and great in off-road conditions, in line with the best competitors from other countries, even better than many of them, in control and handling due to its independent front suspension that was rather new thing for its time. It was far from being a pinnacle of luxury, and driving on paved roads wasn't a breathtaking adventure. But it was more pleasant than driving many other off-roaders of that time, which were mostly derived from military vehicles, with the relevant level of comfort, meaning its absence. It was larger and faster than, for example, the Luas, more comfortable and sharper in handling than the UAZ 469, and cheaper than the Land Rover. The R24 could have been more powerful, and it felt already outdated at the end of its production in the 2000s. But with larger engine options, it was practically an ultimate travel machine if you prefer to boldly travel to places where no man has gone before, or at least has never gone before in regular road cars. That car wasn't popular or well known as many other cars of the Eastern Socialist bloc, and you cannot see it often in movies or meet it on the streets. But despite that absence of fame, the R24 were produced in rather large quantities. They were and are loved by their owners and off-road enthusiasts. And they were in general good cars, brilliantly capable for their purpose. So, in terms of their meaning for automotive history, we can call them a hidden gem of the European off-road stage of the 70s, 80s and 90s. Despite the statements you can meet in some articles and videos about this car, the R24 was never officially sold in the United States. There were several such attempts, and there was even a shady story when some guy gathered a lot of money from potential American dealers who wanted to sell that car, but it never came anywhere. But most of those cars are older than 25 years now, so if you really want one, you can import it from Europe or South America. There are not many of them on the market, and it's really difficult to tell some average price on them. But from rare offers I see right now, cars in good condition go for about 6 to 7,000 euros, and cars in fair condition are offered for 3 to 5,000 euros. That's a good deal in my opinion, but finding a good example maybe not that easy. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you happen to own or drive an R24, please tell me about your experience. This is a very rare car now, and the stories of real experience with it are extremely valuable for me and for other viewers. Thank you so much! And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. New interesting stories are coming soon. Vă mulțumesc foarte mult, prieteni, and see you next time!